For years, we looked up at Jupiter and thought we had it all figured out. Just a massive gas giant swirling with storms, packed with hydrogen, and frozen in time from the early days of the solar system. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if Jupiter isn't just a wild mess of weather and volcanic moons, but something deliberate, maybe even aware? Now, after almost 10 years circling this monster, NASA's Juno spacecraft is on its last legs. But right before it's pulled into that massive spinning nightmare, Juno sent back something wild. It captured data and images that flipped the entire playbook of planetary science upside down. This wasn't just about pretty storms. This was about behavior, pulses, patterns, and strange reactions that felt more like responses than randomness. Jupiter might not be the planet we thought it was. Maybe it never was. Things got even weirder when Juno dove straight into the madness of Io, a moon so unstable it looks like it's breathing fire. Between 2023 and 2024, Juno flew just 1,500 kilometers above Io's surface and caught unbelievable shots of lava shooting up dozens of kilometers into space. But here's the creepy part. It wasn't just the chaos that stood out. It was the rhythm. Multiple eruptions went off in almost perfect sync, like they were timed. And just when Juno passed over the giant Loki P lava lake, its instruments picked up a magnetic pulse that didn't line up with anything we expected. It was like the moon was reacting, not randomly, but intentionally. This wasn't just some random glitch. It was a deliberate pulse, like something deep under Io's crust had noticed Juno and responded. The data didn't show just one volcano going off. It revealed thermal surges across volcanoes spaced hundreds of kilometers apart, all moving in sync. That kind of coordination doesn't fit any known tidal heating models. It's not supposed to happen, period. So the big question is, was Io reacting to gravity or something else entirely? But Juno wasn't just out here chasing moons. The real mission? Tear off Jupiter's colorful mask and get a look at what's really going on underneath. When Juno dove into Jupiter's north polar region, things took a chilling turn. Its microwave radiometer exposed something that just didn't add up. From the outside, everything looked normal. A powerful cyclone spinning perfectly at the pole, clear as day in both visible and infrared images. But the microwave scans told a very different story. The center of that storm, totally empty. No deep energy, no signature, nothing, like it wasn't even real. Other cyclones nearby were bursting with subsurface activity. But this one, hollow, quiet, almost too perfect. One stunned scientist even called it the mask, a fake weather system manufactured with precision. Perfectly circular, eerily calm in the middle, and totally stripped of the chaos Jupiter's storms are known for. The hint? Somebody, or something, might have designed that vortex on purpose. As Juno cut through Jupiter's wild radiation belts, something totally unexpected popped up on its sensors. A weird thermal signal from one of the smallest moons in the whole system. Amalthea, barely 84 kilometers across and shaped like a busted potato, was never supposed to be important. Scientists barely paid attention to it. But during Juno's 59th orbit, everything changed. Amalthea started glowing in infrared, and not in a quiet background way. It was pulsing, a steady rhythmic thermal pattern, like it was beating to a drum. Even crazier, those pulses lined up perfectly with the exact moments Juno flew by, and the second Juno drifted out of sight, the signals faded. At first they blamed it on tidal stress, or some electric reaction from Jupiter's magnetic field. But then it got way weirder. Analysts found the pulses were matching up exactly with a strange magnetic wave coming from Jupiter's equator, one we'd never seen before. It was like Amalthea had picked up a signal, and then answered back. Was this a one-time fluke? Or is Amalthea actually part of something bigger, like a communication hub in a massive system we don't even understand yet? And just when it couldn't get any stranger, Juno's sensors picked up strange movement in Jupiter's dusty rings. Yeah, the ones no one talks about. During recent flybys, the spacecraft caught patches of material behaving wrong, shifting in ways that don't match any known gravity models. It was like parts of the ring were alive, or being directed. Instead of flowing smoothly around Jupiter, tiny clusters of ring particles started doing something impossible. They sped up against their natural orbit. They'd jolt out of position, shift slightly off track, then snap right back into alignment like nothing happened. These weren't just one-off glitches. The behavior repeated, over and over. And get this, it only happened when Juno passed through a very specific magnetic corridor shooting up from Jupiter's atmosphere. Scientists are straight up baffled. Jupiter's rings are way too thin to be pulling off this kind of energy. One theory floated the idea of charged plasma messing with dust behavior, but the movements were too exact. One physicist said the particles move like they're being told when to move. If that's the case, these rings aren't just space junk, they're a tool, a system, and we're only just beginning to hear it. Now let's talk about the infamous Great Red Spot. That massive storm has hypnotized astronomers for centuries. It's twice the size of Earth and has been raging for over 350 years. But Juno's high-res microwave and infrared scans from its 59th and 60-second flybys caught something totally hidden from plain view. The storm is changing in ways that don't make any sense. Deep inside, the temperature patterns aren't stable. They jump around unpredictably, sometimes heating up while the surface winds stay completely calm. On one flyby, Juno detected a sudden thermal surge from the storm's center, a 20% temperature spike in under a minute. But here's the kicker. The Great Red Spot isn't a sealed system like we thought. It's open. Juno's sensors locked onto something wild, a thin filament of scorching gas shooting out from the heart of the Great Red Spot. It stretched east like a tendril, then vanished into Jupiter's cloudy layers. But here's the thing. Weather doesn't do that. Storms don't send out tendrils unless maybe it's not a storm at all. Now some researchers are throwing out a bold theory. The Great Red Spot might be pulling energy from inside Jupiter, maybe even from its core. Others are playing it safer, calling it a pressure valve, a natural release from deep within the planet. But one thing's for sure, this storm isn't dying out, it's stabilizing, and it might be part of something ancient, a system so massive we can barely even grasp it. Jupiter's striped clouds are whipped into shape by brutal jet streams, massive atmospheric belts tearing around the planet at over 300 miles per hour. But during Juno's 61st to 66th orbits, something started to glitch in the matrix. In the folded filament region of the northern hemisphere, those powerful jet streams broke down. The winds twisted into chaos, but inside that chaos was order. When scientists ran the cloud motion through sequence analysis, they uncovered repeating patterns, hexagons, spirals, mirrored curves, like the weather was painting fractals across the sky. Using motion mapping tech, NASA pinpointed loops in the clouds that repeated exactly every 6.2 hours, Jupiter's full rotation, but some loops finished in 3.1 hours and others in 1.55. They formed perfect repeating sections, like gears spinning inside a machine. This wasn't just weather. The patterns showed timing, rhythm, a mechanical pulse. Jupiter might have a heartbeat. Was this just chaotic turbulence inside Jupiter's thick atmosphere, or something way smarter? Juno was tracking storms, yeah, but these storms knew their timing, like they were following a program. One of Juno's last big goals was to crack the mystery of Jupiter's internal structure, especially how much water it holds. Using deep microwave scans, it mapped hydrogen and oxygen across the upper and middle layers, but something didn't match up. Scientists expected loads of water near the equator and deep in the core, heavy elements mixed with ice like a planetary stew. But instead, the core looked dry. The readings were off, way off. That's when researchers started tossing around a creepy possibility. What if Jupiter's water is being moved? But the real question is, moved to where? In a 2024 data release, Juno revealed something massive: deep thermal surges in Jupiter's lower atmosphere, right under the equatorial region. These heat signatures were too far down to be caused by sunlight and too spread out to be volcanic. The data looked like warm liquid trapped beneath the thick gas shell. Basically, an ocean inside a gas giant. That alone would flip everything we know about planet formation, but it gets more intense. Juno picked up movement, huge columns rising and falling like the planet was breathing, inhaling, exhaling, feeding from within and releasing through those massive storms. Now, Juno's clock is ticking. The mission's set to end in September 2025, when it makes its 77th and final dive straight into Jupiter's atmosphere. But during these last orbits, something unexpected started happening. During its 69th close pass, or perijova, Juno's comms suddenly went dark, a full blackout. No solar flare, no hardware glitch, just silence for exactly 3.141 seconds. Yeah, that number. Pi. A mathematical constant showing up smack in the middle of deep space data. Coincidence? Maybe. But it was way too precise to ignore. What's even stranger is where it happened. During the blackout, Juno was flying over a stretch of Jupiter's atmosphere where magnetic resonance had already spiked in the past, a known hotspot. NASA brushed it off, calling it a minor telemetry delay. But behind the scenes, engineers were spooked. One internal note even read, "The planet blinked." And ever since that moment, mission routes have shifted. Juno's path has been carefully adjusted to avoid that exact region. Why? Are they protecting the probe or keeping it away from something? The reality is, Juno was never supposed to last this long. It was built for a simple mission, not to unravel secrets that bend the rules of science itself. Yet here it is, catching signals, strange rhythms, and now blackouts with mathematical precision. Maybe Jupiter isn't just revealing itself on Juno's timeline. Maybe it's deciding what it wants to show us. Juno was built to observe, to measure, to beam back data, nothing more. But it turns out, Jupiter had other plans. What Juno uncovered wasn't just wild storms or magnetic chaos or volcanoes spitting fire. It found rhythm, patterns, coordinated signals, moons pulsing in sync with the planet's heartbeat, storms that vanish the second we look deeper, rings shifting without being touched, clouds spinning in perfect mirrored spirals. At some point, Jupiter stopped acting like a planet and started moving like a system, layered, protected, designed. And the deeper Juno dug, the more it felt like we were crossing into something we were never supposed to access, boundaries we weren't meant to break. Now its final dive is almost here. Juno will be pulled into Jupiter's upper atmosphere, where it'll burn up, erased completely. But maybe, not just because it's old, not because it's out of fuel, maybe it's being silenced because it saw too much. What if Jupiter was never just a giant ball of gas? What if Juno wasn't orbiting a planet at all, but a gate, a processor, a transmitter, or something ancient, something deliberate? And if that's the truth, then Jupiter isn't just the biggest planet in the solar system. It might be the most tightly guarded secret in the entire cosmic neighborhood. As Juno counts down to its final descent, its instruments are still active, still watching. And on one of its last orbits, it picked up something chilling, a signal, not a natural burst, not cosmic noise, but a structured frequency, spaced, repeating, and riding on Jupiter's magnetic field like a message looking for a receiver. It wasn't just random static. Analysts traced it to a zone near the planet's twilight belt, the hazy line where day fades into night. In that thin stretch of shadow, Jupiter's atmosphere rippled unnaturally, a shimmering distortion like the sky was being bent or responding. The signal pulsed exactly 7 times, then stopped, just enough to be noticed, just enough to make sure it was. Some scientists believe it's a form of feedback, not from the planet, but from something inside it. Others are calling it a countdown. Inside NASA, chatter has started. Not official, not public, but quiet, careful. A few engineers have started referring to this last leg of Juno's mission as the curtain call. Because maybe, just maybe, we were never studying Jupiter at all. Maybe Jupiter was studying us. And now that Juno has done its job, now that it's seen beneath the surface, caught glimpses of patterns, rhythms, pulses, messages, maybe it's time to shut the door again. Maybe this dive isn't just the end of a mission. Maybe it's the response. Just hours before its final dive, Juno's sensors flared one last time. Not from heat, not from radiation, but from a sudden burst of electromagnetic interference that scrambled the onboard spectrometer. It didn't damage anything, but it wiped the final packet of collected data, gone, like something erased it on purpose. Backup systems captured a fragment, a single frame from the wide-angle imager. At first, it looked like noise, but after enhancement, a pattern emerged, a spiral, symmetrical, glowing faintly, buried deep within Jupiter's lower cloud layers. It wasn't a storm, it wasn't a vortex. It looked more like an insignia, NASA hasn't released the image, not officially, but internal staff have nicknamed it the Eye. Some say it resembles a symbol found in ancient Sumerian star maps, a match no one can explain. A coincidence, or something far older than we ever imagined? In Juno's final transmission log, before the signal cut off forever, a line of system code was left open, untranslated. When decrypted, the line didn't contain coordinates or sensor data, just one word: listen. No one knows if it was random code corruption or something else. Because in those last seconds, as Juno plunged into that swirling gold and crimson abyss, some believe the probe didn't just fall, it crossed over. Into what? A layer, a vault, a receiver? Juno is gone now, but something on Jupiter is still awake. If this shook your view of reality, you're not alone. What Juno found out there wasn't just science. It was something forbidden, something no one expected. So the real question is, was Jupiter ever just a planet, or is it the center of a design we were never meant to uncover? Let us know in the comments. Do you think Jupiter is just a natural giant, or could it be part of something way bigger and way older? And if this blew your mind, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button, subscribe for more revelations most channels won't even dare to touch, and share this with someone who needs to wake up. We've only scratched the surface. See you on the next one.